Welcome to Hogwarts, where you seek snitches and summon spells, where you discover your destiny and become Harry Potter. In the video game, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone.
Pretty sure it's called the Sorcerer's Stone, but whatever. And for any of the Harry Potter faithful out there, I know why there's a different title. I was just making a joke. Okay, so Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, it really cannot be understated how freaking big this movie was when it first came out. I still remember when the original Harry Potter film released, and even as someone who didn't read the books, like every kid I knew was excited for it. The film looked big in scope, the concept was interesting, the world was just fascinating to look at. I don't think there had ever been a book-to-film adaptation of this size and scope, and with the intention of adapting every single book in the series to a similar quality. It was just an enormous deal. And with how successful it was, I think the film has grossed over like $3 billion with every re-release it's ever done. There was a ton of merchandising too. I remember action figures, I remember t-shirts, and of course I remember video games. Now, some of you guys might be wondering, why am I bothering to cover a Harry Potter game in this PlayStation retrospective? Isn't there something else that I should cover? Well, the reason I'm decided to do this is because, Harry Potter was a cornerstone of, just pop culture in general when the PlayStation was making the rounds. And I do know a lot of people who do have fond memories with the PlayStation game. And addition to that, it is a very long-running series. I don't think people realize how many Harry Potter video games there actually are. They made multiple different games for every film in the series, and there are multiple spin-offs as well. And it all started with this game on the PlayStation 1. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, Harry Potter centers around the eponymous boy wizard who goes off to attend the Hogwarts School for Witchcraft and Wizardry, all the while dealing with all kinds of evil forces who have a bone to pick with him for one reason or another. The game basically follows a similar plot to the Sorcerer's Stone movie. But one thing I find really interesting about the initial Harry Potter games is that they weren't necessarily based on the movies per se, though they definitely used some elements from the film, such as some character designs and what have you. The games actually take a bit more from the books than you would think. They also, for example, they will pad out sections of the game with stuff that didn't make it into the movie but was in the book. For instance, there is Peeves, who is a recurrent boss in the game. So yeah, that's actually really interesting. I also love the presentation in this game as well. Rather than try to go for the realism of the movies, they instead opted to give the game a more cartoony art style and simplify some of the character designs down. One touch I really like is the uniformity and simplicity of the Hogwarts robes. They're just black robes with a hood and colored accents to show what house they're from. But you can also see the characters' individual clothes underneath the robe. So the characters are still recognizable despite the simplified character designs. Runs pretty well too. Voice acting is a little silly, but what are you going to do about that? It is pretty clear that it is a rush job. I'm not going to deny that, but for a game that was probably made within the span of less than a year and didn't have a whole lot of money thrown at it, it's impressive what they were able to achieve here. It really does feel like you're playing a Harry Potter game. As for the gameplay, it is sort of the thing I always compare it to is Zelda, with how its systems work, how platforming and everything works, the exploration, and how magic is incorporated. It just kind of feels like that's what they decided to go with. And for the most part, it does work. All the different spells that you have do function in a similar way to how the items would work in a Zelda game. And the platforming, though, it is automated with, Harry automatically jumping when he reaches the edge of something. It actually does work pretty well, and it's surprising how much precision you can actually get out of it. There are lots of really cool moments, too, such as the Quidditch matches and all the duels and everything. Like, it's a surprisingly fun game. I mean, it's not a masterpiece or anything, but it's of a surprising quality, I must admit. That being said, it is still a licensed game from, the early 2000s, so yeah, it is going to be a little janky. There is some stuff that looks a little weird, and, it is lacking multiple coats of polish, but I have played much worse than this, so, I can't really complain too much. This is actually a pretty fun game, all things considered. As I said, though, there would be a long string of Harry Potter games based on the films. Every film that came out had multiple different versions of the game across handhelds and PC and what have you. And some of them were actually said to be pretty good. I think the most beloved one would probably have to be the game based on Chamber of Secrets. But I also remember The Prisoner of Azkaban being pretty good too. However, at some point, the quality of the games just started to get neglected big time, and by the time the last film came out, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, they had essentially resorted to turning the game into a standard cover-based third-person shooter, which is a really bizarre choice and very, very, very unimaginative for a Harry Potter game. Like, these games are just all kinds of awful. You can tell they were just made on the budget of a ham sandwich and a half-eaten bag of Skittles. Like, my God, what were they thinking with this? Thankfully, we live in a world where we now have the Harry Potter game of everyone's dreams, and that is Hogwarts Legacy, which applies a AAA coat of paint to the Harry Potter world, and the results are pretty stellar. Though I definitely took issue with this game in some respects. It really is cool to be able to experience the Wizarding World in this manner, so I really don't have a lot to complain about it. I hope more of these games come out. I think it would be cool if they could apply this level of quality to games based on the books in general. Maybe just do one great big long saga where you cover all the events of the film, but that might be a big ask. But yeah, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone on PS1, surprisingly good. Not great, not terrible, but okay. You can definitely do worse than this. But we're coming up on the end of the PlayStation Retrospective, guys, so join me tomorrow as we cover 10 more highlights before we get to what I think is the best of the best that the PlayStation 1 has to offer. I'll see you guys then.